My girlfriend yelled in front of everyone, "You'll never be good enough for me." I, 32 male, am a forensic accountant. That sounds fancy, but basically I'm a professional buzzkill. I'm the guy corporations call when the numbers don't add up, or the guy high net worth individuals hire when they suspect their spouse is hiding assets. I spend my life looking at spreadsheets, tracing wire transfers, and analyzing the ugliest parts of human greed. I can spot a shell company from a mile away and smell a fraudulent invoice before the PDF even loads. You would think, given my profession, I would be the last person on earth to get played. You'd think I'd have a radar for financial abuse and emotional manipulation. But they say love is blind. In my case, it wasn't just blind, it was willfully, stupidly ignorant. I was looking at the red flags through rose-colored glasses and telling myself they were just festive decorations. I've been with my girlfriend, let's call her Mia, 26F, for 3 years. We met at a charity gala I was auditing. She was a volunteer, wearing a dress that cost more than my first car, looking like she owned the place. She was charismatic, energetic, and full of these grand, vague ideas about her future. She called herself a lifestyle brand consultant. In 3 years, I never fully understood what that meant, mostly because I never saw her actually consult anyone. What I did see was her spending a lot of money to maintain her image. I make good money. I worked hard to get my CPA, then my CFE, Certified Fraud Examiner, and I built a reputation in Chicago as the guy who finds the money. I own a penthouse apartment downtown, I have a solid investment portfolio, and I live comfortably. When Mia moved in 6 months into our relationship, I didn't ask for rent. I wanted to take care of her. I wanted to be the provider. It felt good to be the guy who could make her life easier. But easier slowly turned into financed entirely by me. I paid the mortgage, I paid the utilities, I paid for the groceries. Then it was the lease on her luxury SUV because her old car didn't fit the brand. Then it was the vacations to Tulum and Cabo because she needed content. Then it was the networking dinners, which were essentially just her and her friends eating Wagyu beef on my credit card. I justified it all. I told myself she is building a business. Startups require capital. We're a team. I was the silent foundation, she was the charismatic face. That illusion didn't just crack, it completely shattered last Saturday night. It was her 26th birthday. She'd been talking about this night for months. She insisted we rent out the private dining room of this incredibly upscale Italian bistro in River North. She invited 20 people, her friends, a few influencers she barely knew, and this guy named Rick. Rick was a new addition to her life. She introduced him as her talent manager. Rick was about 40, wore suits that were too shiny, and had a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I didn't like him, but Mia insisted he was going to take her brand to the next level. The dinner was a disaster from the start. I was sitting at the end of the table, basically ignored, while Mia and Rick held court in the center. They were ordering bottles of wine that cost $400 a pop, without even asking me. I watched the bill tally up in my head. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Toward the end of the meal, before the cake came out, I pulled Mia aside. I wanted a private moment. We stood near the bar, away from the noise of her entourage. I was nervous. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a small black velvet box. We had talked about marriage a few times, but she always shut it down, saying she needed to be established first. So I didn't get a ring. Instead, I got her a pair of diamond stud earrings she had circled in a catalog about 4 months ago. They were beautiful, classic, and cost about $6,000. "Happy birthday, babe," I said, handing her the box. I was smiling, genuinely happy to give her something nice. She took the box, her eyes lighting up. She popped it open. Her expression froze. Then it dropped. It wasn't disappointment, it was disgust. "Earrings?" she said, her voice flat. "Yeah," I said, confused by the reaction. "The ones you liked, from the catalog." She snapped the box shut. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet bar area. "I didn't want earrings. I told you what I wanted." "You said you liked these," I started. "I told you I needed the investment capital," she hissed, her voice rising. "We talked about this last week. I need $50,000 to launch the agency properly. I need to hire a videographer. I need a website. I need a retainer for Rick. Jewelry? This is just... It's insulting. It shows you don't listen to me. It shows you don't believe in me." I felt the heat rising in my neck. "Mia,
I told you, I am not liquidating my long-term hold portfolio for a business plan that doesn't even exist on paper. You haven't shown me a P&L, a marketing strategy, nothing. Just Rick's vision. Write the business plan, show me the numbers, and we'll talk about a loan. But I'm not just handing you 50 grand cash. That was the trigger. She stepped back, her face flushing with a mix of expensive red wine and pure, unfiltered entitlement. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at the room. She wanted an audience. She gestured grandly, causing the conversation at our table to die down. Her friends turned to look. Rick swiveled in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips. "You are so selfish," she screamed. The entire restaurant seemed to stop. Forks froze mid-air. The bartender stopped shaking a martini. "I have sacrificed everything for us," she yelled, playing to the crowd. "I cook, I clean, I support you when you come home from your boring job. And you can't even support my dreams? You have the money, you just want to control me." "I pay for everything," I said, my voice low and hard. I was trying to de-escalate, but the humiliation was burning a hole in my stomach. The house, the car, this dinner. "You pay for the basics," she shrieked, cutting me off. "That's what a man is supposed to do, but you hold me back. You're just a boring, jealous number cruncher who's terrified of my potential. That's why you won't fund me. You're afraid I'll outshine you. You're afraid I'll get successful and realize I don't need you." She walked right up to me, invading my personal space, and poked a manicured finger hard into my chest. "You listen to me," she said, loud enough for the valet outside to hear. "You'll never be good enough for me. I am a star, and you are just some guy." The room went dead silent. Her friends, people I had fed, entertained, and bought drinks for over the last 3 years, looked at their shoes or smirked. Rick was definitely smirking. He looked like he won the lottery. I looked at her. I mean, really looked at her. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't see the woman I loved. I saw a stranger. I saw the contempt in her eyes. I saw the calculation. She thought that by humiliating me publicly, by attacking my masculinity and my worth in front of her manager and friends, she could guilt me into writing the check later just to smooth things over. It was a power play, a dirty, manipulative power play. Something inside me broke, but it wasn't a breakdown, it was a breakthrough. The part of me that tolerated the overspending, the temper tantrums, the lack of gratitude, it just died. It was replaced by the cold, analytical part of my brain, the part that dismantles fraudulent schemes.
Fraudsters for a living. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't try to argue. I smiled. It was a small, sad smile. And I said softly, "Maybe you're right." Then I turned around. I walked out of the private room, past the stunned hostess, and out into the cool Chicago night. I handed the valet my ticket, got into my car, and drove away without looking back. I didn't go home. Home wasn't home anymore. It was the crime scene of a 3-year con. I drove to the Four Seasons downtown. I needed neutral ground. I needed luxury that I was paying for only for myself. I checked in, went up to the room, and sat on the edge of the bed. My phone was buzzing in my pocket, but I ignored it. About 2 hours later, my phone pinged with a text from one of her friends, Sarah. Sarah was probably the only one in that group who had a conscience, though not enough of one to speak up at the dinner. The text read, "You know what she said after you left?" I stared at it for a minute. Did I want to know? Did it matter? I typed back, "What?" The reply came through a few seconds later. She laughed. She actually laughed. She told everyone not to worry and to order another round. She said, "He'll be back tomorrow begging. He knows he's nothing without me. Plus, I technically own half his life, so he can't leave even if he wants to. He's too scared of being alone." I stared at the screen until the backlight timed out. Technically own half his life. That phrase, that specific, arrogant, legally incorrect phrase. That's when the boyfriend died and the forensic accountant woke up. I put the phone down and opened my laptop. I wasn't sad anymore. I was working. This was no longer a breakup. This was an audit. I connected to the hotel Wi-Fi and logged into my bank portals.
I pulled up the joint checking account, which, let's be honest, was funded 100% by my salary, but she had a debit card for. I pulled up the credit card statements. I pulled up the supplementary card I had given her for emergencies. The activity was staggering. In the 3 hours since I had left the restaurant, the damage was impressive. $4,000 at the restaurant because she put the whole bill on my card after I left. $12,000 at a nightclub called Vibe for bottle service. $5,000 transferred from the joint checking to her personal Venmo account. She wasn't just entitled, she was looting the ship. She thought I would come back, but just in case I didn't, she was grabbing everything she could carry. I didn't hesitate. I initiated the nuclear protocol. It's a checklist I give my clients who are divorcing narcissists. I never thought I'd be using it on myself. First, I stopped the bleeding. I went into the Amex portal and frozen every single card. I reported the supplementary card as lost or stolen just to be sure. Second, I secured the cash. I transferred every cent of remaining operational cash from the joint account into my personal high-yield savings account, which she couldn't access. I left the joint account with exactly $0. Third, I locked the doors. I logged into our smart home system. I changed the code to the front door digital lock. I changed the garage code. Finally, the digital eviction. I changed the password to Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Amazon Prime, and, most petty but most satisfying, the Wi-Fi password at the apartment. Then I started digging deeper. I was looking at the last 6 months of statements with my work eyes. When you're in love, you see a charge for a luxury store and think, oh, she bought makeup. When you're an auditor, you click the transaction details. I noticed a pattern. Large purchases at luxury department stores, Nordstrom, Saks, Neiman Marcus. $2,000 here, $3,000 there. But then, a few days later, no corresponding returns on the card. But also, I never saw these clothes. She had a lot of clothes, but not $50,000 in 6 months' worth of new clothes. I logged into the cloud account for the iPad we shared. It was synced to her phone photos. I scrolled back. I found screenshots of Poshmark listings. There it was. She was buying designer bags and shoes on my card, posting them on Poshmark or The RealReal, selling them for cash and having the money deposited into her private account. It was a classic skimming scheme. She was laundering my money through handbags. That's wire fraud. That's embezzlement. I saved everything. Screenshots, transaction IDs, timestamps. I built a folder named Project Freedom. By the time the sun came up over Lake Michigan, I had enough evidence to bury her. I finally slept for about 2 hours. When I woke up on Sunday morning, my phone was basically a brick. 47 missed calls. The texts were a masterclass in the cycle of abuse, ranging from fake concern to anger to threats. I didn't answer a single one. I ordered room service, took a shower, and put on a fresh suit I had in my emergency bag. I knew her schedule. On Sundays, she went to a recovery brunch with her girls from 11 to 2. She wouldn't be at the apartment. I drove over there at noon. I entered the code, my new code, and walked in. The place was a wreck. Wine bottles everywhere, shoes kicked off in the hallway. It smelled of stale perfume and bad decisions. I moved fast. I packed my essentials, my passport, my birth certificate, my expensive hard drives, my expensive watch collection, and, most importantly, my dog's things. My dog, Buster, was currently at a kennel for the weekend, thank God. I was rolling my suitcase toward the door when the lock beeped. She wasn't at brunch. The door swung open and Mia walked in, but she wasn't alone. Rick was with her. She looked hungover, her makeup smeared, wearing sweatpants. Rick looked equally rough, wearing the same suit from the night before. "Where do you think you're going?" she demanded, blocking the hallway. Her eyes went from my suitcase to my face. "And why isn't the black card working? How embarrassing was that? Rick had to pay for the Uber." "I closed the accounts," I said, my voice incredibly calm. "It's amazing how calm you feel when you know you hold all the aces." "We're done, Mia. You said I wasn't good enough. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I'm setting you free to find someone who measures up." Rick stepped forward, puffing out his chest. He was trying to be the alpha protector. Hey man, look, you can't just cut her off like that. That's financial abuse. She has rights to the lifestyle she's become accustomed to. You can't just pull the rug out. I almost laughed. She has a right to the money she earns, which is zero. Get out of my way, Rick. This is my apartment too, Mia shrieked. She threw her bag on the floor. Common law marriage. I looked it up. We've lived together for 3 years. Half of this equity is mine. You can't leave. We live in Illinois, I said, adjusting my grip on my suitcase handle. Illinois hasn't recognized common law marriage since 1905. My name is the only one on the deed. My name is the only one on the mortgage. You are a guest, and as of right now, your guest privileges are revoked. Her face twisted. She realized the legal threat wasn't working, so she switched to violence. I'm not leaving. She grabbed a heavy crystal vase from the entry table, a vintage piece my mother gave me, and smashed it onto the hardwood floor. Glass exploded everywhere. I'm not going anywhere. If you try to kick me out, I'll tell everyone you hit me. I'll tell the police you beat me. I'll ruin your career. Who are they going to believe?
The crying woman or the cold accountant? Rick pulled out his phone and held it up, camera facing me. I'm recording this. Go ahead, bro. Touch her. Make my day. This was the trap. I saw it instantly. They wanted a reaction. They wanted me to grab her or push Rick. If I made physical contact, they could call the cops, get an emergency order of protection, and force me out of my own home while they stayed there living off my stocked fridge. It's a classic grifter tactic, squatting by way of a restraining order. I didn't take the bait. I kept my hands on my suitcase. I'm leaving, I said. You have 24 hours to vacate. If you're not gone, I'll file for eviction. I walked toward them. Rick hesitated, then stepped aside, not wanting to actually fight. Mia, however, lunged. She tried to grab my arm, her nails digging into my skin. She scratched me, drawing blood on my forearm. "Don't you walk away from me," she screamed. I pulled my arm away without shoving her. I didn't say a word. I stepped over the broken glass, got into the elevator, and hit the button for the lobby. As the doors closed, I heard her screaming that she would ruin me. I went straight to the nearest police station. I filed an informational report for domestic battery. I showed the officer the scratches. I told him I didn't want to press charges right this second, but I needed this documented in case she tried to flip the script. He took photos of my arm and gave me a report number. Then I went to my lawyer's office. Let's call him Saul. Saul is a shark. He's the kind of lawyer who knows where the bodies are buried because he brought the shovel. I sat in his office on Monday morning, the adrenaline finally wearing off, replaced by exhaustion. "She's refusing to leave," I told Saul, "and she's threatening a false DV claim to get possession of the penthouse." Saul leaned back in his leather chair. "Did she threaten you in writing?" "No, verbal, but Rick was recording." "That's a problem," Saul said. "It's he said, she said, and in Cook County, judges err on the side of caution. If she files for a temporary restraining order, or TRO, she'll get it. They grant those ex parte, meaning without you there to defend yourself. You'll be barred from the home for at least 2 weeks until the hearing." "Wait," I said, remembering something. "The cameras." "What cameras?" "I installed distinct, high-definition security cameras in the living room and hallway 6 months ago after that break-in down the hall. They upload to a private cloud server. Mia knows they are there, but she's so arrogant she probably forgot they record audio." Saul's eyes lit up. "Do you have the footage?" "I can get it." I pulled up the app on my phone. I scrolled back to yesterday noon. The video was crystal clear. It showed me trying to leave. It showed Rick blocking me. It showed Mia screaming about common law marriage. It showed her smashing the vase. And, crucially, it captured her threat in high-fidelity audio. "If you try to kick me out, I'll tell everyone you hit me. I'll tell the police you beat me. I'll ruin your career." And it captured her scratching me as I walked away.
Saul watched the video. He let out a low whistle. Got her. That's perjury bait. But listen to me closely. Do not release this yet. Let her fire the first shot. Let her file the false report. Once she swears to a lie under oath, we don't just win the eviction, we destroy her credibility forever. We didn't have to wait long. 2 hours later, I was served with a temporary restraining order. A sheriff's deputy found me at the hotel. Mia had gone to the courthouse that morning. In her affidavit, she claimed I had beaten her on Saturday night after the party and that I returned on Sunday to threaten her life. She requested exclusive possession of the apartment and temporary spousal support to maintain the status quo. Because the system is designed to protect victims quickly, the judge granted the temporary order. I was legally barred from entering my own home. She texted me immediately after I was served. Looks like the judge thinks I'm good enough. Enjoy the motel, loser. Don't forget to pay the electric bill. Wouldn't want the AC to go off while I'm relaxing. Then I saw the Instagram post. A photo of her and Rick drinking my vintage champagne on my balcony. Caption, new beginnings, finally free from toxicity. Hashtag boss babe. Hashtag my penthouse. Hashtag survivor. I felt a cold, white-hot rage. Not because of the lies, but because she was abusing a system meant for actual battered women just to steal a condo. Time to go nuclear? Asked Saul, seeing my face. Nuclear, I confirmed, but I want to hit Rick, too. He's the one whispering in his ear. We had 5 days until the plenary order hearing. That's the hearing where the temporary order becomes permanent for 2 years or gets dismissed. I spent those 5 days doing what I do best, forensic accounting. I ran a background check on Rick. Turns out the manager was actually Richard. He had 3 prior civil judgments in fraud involving selling fake concert tickets and, the cherry on top, an active warrant in Ohio for unpaid child support totaling over $40,000. He wasn't a manager, he was a grifter on the run. Then I finalized the Poshmark report. I matched every unauthorized luxury purchase on my Amex to a listing on his Poshmark account. I calculated the total theft at around $35,000 over the last year. Friday morning arrived, the day of the hearing. We walked into the courtroom. Mia was there with a court-appointed advocate. She looked completely different. She was wearing no makeup, a modest cardigan I'd never seen before, and flat shoes. She was trembling, looking at the floor. It was a performance. Rick was sitting in the gallery, looking smug, probably thinking they had this in the bag. The judge was a stern woman who looked like she had heard every lie in the book. She asked Mia to tell her side. Mia stood up and cried. Real tears. She described a fictional assault in graphic detail. She claimed I was controlling, that I forced her to stay home, that I controlled all her finances to trap me. He yelled at me in the restaurant because I asked for freedom. Then he came home and threw me against the wall. He smashed a vase near my head to scare me. She pointed a shaking finger at me. I'm just so scared of him, Your Honor. The judge looked at me with deep disgust. Counsel, does your client have a response? Saul stood up, buttoning his jacket. Your Honor, we vehemently deny all allegations. The petitioner is using this court as a weapon to facilitate an illegal eviction and extortion. We have video evidence of the interaction in question, as well as the petitioner's stated intent to fabricate these very lies. The judge paused. Video of the alleged assault? Security footage inside the domicile, Your Honor, along with audio. Mia's head snapped up. Her victim mask slipped for a second. Rick stopped smirking in the back row. May I approach and play the file? Saul asked. Proceed. We connected the laptop to the courtroom monitor. Saul hit play. The courtroom watched the high-def footage. They saw Rick blocking me. They heard Mia scream about common-law marriage. They watched her pick up the vase and smash it on the floor, not me. Then the audio filled the room loud and clear. If you try to kick me out, I'll tell everyone you hit me. I'll tell the police you beat me. I'll ruin your career.
and it captured her scratching me as I walked away.
Silence in that courtroom was heavy. It was the silence of a lie dying in the light. Saul wasn't done. "Your Honor, I have one more clip. This is from Monday night, after my client was removed from his home by your temporary order." He played the second clip. I hadn't even told Mia about this one. It was night vision footage of the living room. Mia and Rick were sitting on my couch drinking wine. "Rick, do you think he'll pay?" "Mia, he has to. He's terrified of losing his CPA license. We'll settle for the apartment and maybe $50,000 cash. Then we can sell this place and move to LA. He's such a weak little man. He'll fold." "Rick, you're a genius, babe." The judge signaled to stop the video. She looked at Mia. Her expression had shifted from sympathy to absolute cold fury. "Ms. Last Name," the judge said, her voice dropping an octave, "you have perjured yourself in my courtroom. You have abused the resources of this state. You have made a mockery of actual victims of domestic violence who need this court's protection." "But he doctored it. That's AI," Mia stammered, looking around wildly. "Silence," the judge barked. "Dismissed with prejudice. The temporary restraining order is vacated immediately." "Sir," she looked at me, "you may return to your home." "Thank you, Your Honor," Saul said. "We would also like to file an oral motion for emergency eviction based on the verified threats to property we just witnessed." "Granted," the judge said, writing furiously. "Sheriff, please accompany the respondent to the residence to ensure she vacates the premises within 2 hours. She is to take only personal clothing, no electronics, no valuables until ownership is established." But we weren't done. I turned to the bailiff. "Officer," I said, "there is a man in the gallery, Richard. I believe there is an active extradition warrant for him out of Ohio." Rick tried to stand up and slip out the back door. 2 deputies were already moving. "Richard?" one deputy asked, blocking the exit. "I didn't do nothing," Rick yelled. "We have a warrant, sir. Unpaid child support. Hands behind your back." Mia screamed as the handcuffed her manager. She looked at me, eyes wide with shock. The color had drained from her face. "You did this. You planned this." "No," I said, finally speaking to her directly. "You did this. You wanted to be a boss? Welcome to accountability. This is what good enough looks like." The police escorted her to the apartment to get her clothes. I didn't go. I couldn't bear to see her again. I had a cleaning crew waiting down the street to go in once she was gone. It's been 3 months. Here is the balance sheet of revenge. First, the civil suit. I sued her for the money she embezzled via the Poshmark scheme, the damage to the apartment, she had spray-painted cheater on the wall before the sheriff got her out, and my legal fees. Since she had no money, we obtained a judgment against her future earnings. It completely ruined her credit score. It's sitting at about 400 right now. She can't lease a car or an apartment without a cosigner, and she burned all her friends. Second, the criminal charges. The district attorney actually picked up the case for filing a false police report and perjury. It's a misdemeanor in Illinois, but she got probation and a permanent criminal record. Good luck becoming a lifestyle consultant or getting a corporate job with a record for fraud and perjury. Third, the social fall. I didn't have to tell everyone. The police report is public record. When her friends found out she lied about abuse, something Sarah, the friend who texted me, had actually suffered in the past, they cut her off. She lost her social circle overnight. Rick is currently in Ohio dealing with his own legal hell. A few days ago, I was sitting on my balcony, the one she took that photo on, drinking a beer. My phone buzzed. It was an email from her. She must have created a new account because I had blocked her everywhere else. Subject: please read. I know I messed up. Rick manipulated me. I was just scared and confused. I miss us. I miss our life. I'm sleeping on my mom's couch in the suburbs, and it's awful. Can we just talk? I can explain everything. I still love you. Please give me another chance. I thought about the 3 years we spent together. I thought about the "you'll never be good enough" scream in the restaurant. I thought about her plotting to steal my home while drinking my wine. I didn't reply. I didn't smile. I just blocked the email address. I sold the penthouse last week. Too many bad memories. I made a killer profit on it, bought a smaller place with a lake view, and invested the rest. I'm dating again, but this time I'm looking for a partner, not a dependent. And the first thing I ask is if they have a business plan for their life. Sometimes being good enough means being smart enough to know when to walk away, burn the bridge, and nuke the ruins so the enemy can't follow you. If you enjoyed watching a gold digger dig her own grave with a shovel she bought on my credit card, subscribe for more stories about financial forensics and justice served ice cold.